Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is 10 to Life, where we talk all things true crime. So if you are brand new and stopping by for the first time, welcome. Thanks for checking out the channel, and I hope you like it. And for all of you returning 10 to Lifers, welcome back. Today's case that we're talking about is one that is a current case, and it's also one that so many of you guys have been sliding into my DMs asking me to not only cover, but asking me what my thoughts are about this case, because it appears everybody is talking about this and everybody has got questions about this case. And unfortunately, in the last few days, we have also had a lot of revelations about this case. So many, in fact, that I have been meaning to record this video with you guys for nearly 5 or 6 days now, and every time I sit down to record, a new update happens. So I come back to the drawing board, do some more research, get ready to record, a new update happens, but now we are here. And while there are revelations that have surfaced and we have more answers, there are still a lot of unanswered questions. Cassie Carli is a mom of a precious 4-year-old little girl who lives in Navarre, Florida. And Cassie was murdered this past week. So what do we know so far? We are going to talk about everything, and I am going to break down this entire case for you, start to finish. So let's get into it.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
As I mentioned, Cassie Carli is a mother of a beautiful 4-year-old little girl, and Cassie was found murdered this week, just a couple of days ago. Now, Cassie prides herself on being a mom. She never went anywhere without her daughter, Sailor. She just absolutely adored her. She was her entire world. And the two of them shared a very close bond. And Cassie has also advocated endlessly for her daughter, Sailor's safety. Cassie had lived with her father, Andrew, and she just got a new job as a server. And she was really excited about it, and she was really doing well in life despite the circumstances that she was facing with her daughter, Sailor's father. And Cassie's sister, Raylan, actually says that her sister was in the best place that she'd ever been, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Nothing seemed to be going wrong in her life, with the exception of the tumultuous relationship that she had with her ex, who was Sailor's father. Marcus Spanavello is the father of Cassie's little girl, Sailor, and Marcus and Cassie have had a very toxic relationship that first began back in 2017, but it ended while Cassie was pregnant with Sailor. And according to Cassie's family, Marcus is extremely manipulative. Co-parenting has also apparently always been very tumultuous for them. So much so, Marcus actually took Sailor and didn't return her to Cassie. And it took an emergency court involvement and almost 2 weeks just to get Sailor back to Cassie. And his reason for taking her and putting Cassie through all of this panic was that he was over $10,000 behind in child support. And the state was actually set to suspend his driver's license. So that's what this all had stemmed from. And so he filed a CPS report and then just took Sailor and fled. And CPS had been called numerous times regarding this relationship and these two parents. Dozens of police reports and welfare reports have been made by Marcus against Cassie. Each report has always been unfounded. And Cassie even said that she knew nearly every single member of the CPS staff by name because of how often Marcus was calling them and trying to get them involved, although everything, again, was unfounded. So you have to be seeing them quite a bit to then be on a first name basis with them. So naturally, Cassie had always been very, very nervous and very afraid of Marcus, always wondering what could he do, what's he going to do next, who's he going to call. And at times, Cassie even took her father Andrew with her to these custody exchanges because she was so fearful over how Marcus may react or what he may do. And at one point, Cassie even had said to her brother that if anything were ever to happen to her, it was Marcus. Well, unfortunately, that all seemed to reach a head and a boiling point, because on Sunday, March 27th, a bit before 7 p.m., Cassie told her father Andrew that she was going to pick up Sailor from Marcus and that she'd be right back. And, she's going to go pick up her daughter and come right back. So Andrew was going to rest, maybe take a little bit of a nap, but he acknowledged Cassie was leaving and said, "We'll see you soon." And this wasn't out of the normal, because Marcus has, or I guess we could say had, custody of Sailor every other weekend. And these exchanges where then Sailor was brought back into Cassie's possession were always in public, and they were always done in public for safety reasons, as many custody exchanges are. And Cassie and Marcus's exchanges were typically done in Destin at the local Walmart. However, this time was different. Marcus and Cassie had switched last minute. They switched their meetup spot last minute, and they planned to meet at Joanna Pagoda's restaurant at Navarre Beach. And Navarre is about 25 miles away from Destin, but it's the town that Cassie lived in, so the switch wasn't entirely crazy. However, it was a little bit different than normal, because Cassie and Marcus were supposed to have a conversation regarding child support. Yet again, we're going back to child support, because remember, Marcus's license was set to be suspended for non-payment. So Cassie goes to this exchange to have this conversation with Marcus and to pick up her daughter Sailor. And then Cassie's father Andrew woke up a couple of hours later, and he was immediately worried because Cassie wasn't home yet, and this was not like her, and it was extremely out of the ordinary. So he called her, but he got no answer. And then around 9:40 p.m., Andrew texted Cassie, and he says in this text, "Cassie, I'm trying to call you, what's going on?" And then he sent another message saying, "I'm freaking out, Cass. Call me as soon as you get this message." Clearly a father who is very panicked about his daughter and his granddaughter and their well-being. Finally, a response comes through from Cassie's phone, and this text says, "I'm sorry, the car was acting up and I broke my phone. Marcus is working on it. I will stay at his place tonight. He's paying me money to do some stuff around the house." Kind of off, but okay, maybe a reasonable explanation. So Cassie's father responds and he asks, "Are you in PCB?" And PCB stands for Panama City Beach. And for reference, that is about 70 miles away from Navarre, and it's the last known residence as to where Marcus had lived. And Marcus works in the sound industry and travels often working in Birmingham, Alabama, and Birmingham is about 4 hours away from Navarre, where Cassie lived, so really just trying to pinpoint where the location could be. And he's able to travel and kind of bounce around, and it's always a little unclear because Marcus has a long trailer that has been converted into his new living quarters. So he's been staying in it while he travels for work all the time. So then another response comes in from Cassie's phone to her father Andrew saying, "No, the screen is jumping all over the place. Let me see if he can get it fixed and then I'll just call you." And this was the last time that anybody ever received any contact from Cassie's phone. No one ever heard from Cassie again, herself, and nobody ever saw Cassie again. So my first question with this is, if the relationship was that tumultuous and if she was scared of Marcus, why would Cassie willingly go to Marcus's place? If she was scared of him, why would she let him fix her phone or fix her car and work at his house for him, making money and spend the night? It just seems very out of character and completely off. And it seems odd that both her car and her phone would happen to be having issues at the very same time. And also, where was this new place that was not in Panama City Beach, which was his last known residence? Where were they? The first two messages showed up as green. And if you're familiar with iPhones, if you are familiar at all with iPhones, you know that everybody even makes it as a joke if like your messages are blue or green, because messages between two Apple products is typically blue. But then if one of those products loses signal, or if a phone is off, or if you're communicating with a phone that is not an Apple product, the screen and the message goes green. But a screen jumping all over the place would not cause text to be delivered in a green format versus the blue format. So something here seemed very, very off. And now looking back at it and pretty early into the investigation, Cassie's family did not think that Cassie herself wrote those messages.
Cassie's father received text messages from Cassie's phone. I think it was at some point that night, and that was, I think that was a bit alarming to the entire family. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you've told me that was alarming to the entire family, correct?
Yes. That the text messages my father received from my sister's phone were nothing of typical speak my sister would have said, especially the claims of car and phone troubles at the same time. She would have walked to the nearest gas station if she had to before getting Marcus for any type of help in a situation like that.
Something else I've looked at with these text messages recently is if you look at the way the punctuation is and the verbiage, he slips up, I believe, in some of these text messages and leaves out words like he typically does in his own text messages. It sounds like him.
And I want to just backtrack for our audience, because I know you guys have been talking about this so much, but what you are saying is that you do not believe that the text messages about the car being broken down, those text messages that went from Cassie's phone to the phone of her father were not sent by Cassie and
We do not believe that those messages were sent by Cassie.
And who do you believe sent them?
Marcus.
Marcus.
She's been
The last
telling
person
me,
to see her alive.
she's been telling me for the last 2 years that this dude has been threatening her. He's pulled a gun out. She's worried. She's never wanted me to come around. And she's always said, if something happens to me, it's him.
So Cassie at this point is missing, and nobody knows where she is, what happened, and if she was okay. And it was confirmed that somebody did see Cassie walk to Marcus's car, but that she never returned back to her own car. And as luck would have it, similar to the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case, when somebody happened to see their van on the side of the road, someone took a photo of the sunset and somehow managed to catch Marcus's trailer in that photo. And this photo was taken at Navarre Beach during that exact time and that window of which the custody exchange was supposed to be happening. In this picture, you can see the trailer door is open. So again, why would the trailer door be open if this was a simple custody exchange? A lot of questions here. His trailer door being open, though, does send major red flags here. So the following day, on Monday the 28th, Cassie's father, Andrew, and her sister called all morning. They were calling Cassie all morning, and they got absolutely no response. So as a worried father and grandfather, Andrew decides that he's going to call Marcus and see if he can get any information. But Marcus refused to pick up his calls, and he would only text Andrew instead. Another very big red flag. Marcus told Andrew in text that he had dropped Cassie off in the middle of nowhere in Destin because Cassie was being crazy. So clearly deflecting, trying to make it look as though Cassie is doing something, acting a certain way, so he dropped her off in the middle of the nowhere as though it's not his fault. Just really top line deflecting. So by Monday afternoon, when it was clear that Cassie was not coming home from work, Andrew called the police and he reported her missing because she wasn't answering her phone calls, she didn't go to work, Marcus couldn't say where he had dropped her off at in Destin. It was way too many red flags. So Andrew reports her as missing. This was just not like Cassie. She would have been back to the house at this point, and she wasn't. And especially since she was supposed to start her new job on the 28th, she wouldn't have just ghosted. This was completely out of character for her. Santa Rosa police are still currently heading this investigation, and it is far from over. But when they began the investigation, they immediately got to work, and they found Cassie's car on Tuesday, March 29th. In her car was her purse and wallet, but her phone was missing.
Cassie wouldn't leave her daughter. The minute I knew that she didn't have her purse, her phone, her car, or her child, we knew. We know.
Now this is, I'm going to just say it again, a big red flag, because most of you know, if you've ever followed anything true crime or any missing persons report, anytime somebody's personal belongings are left behind, especially a purse or a wallet, and usually even a phone too, it is a big red flag, because usually that means that that person did not leave willingly and purposefully leaving their personal things behind, things that they would need if they are trying to pursue life on their own. They would need a wallet, they would need identification, they would need money. So the fact that her purse and wallet was still in the car but her phone was missing was a big red flag. Women don't just leave their purses in their car and go into somebody else's car. So if she also was really, in fact, going to Marcus's house, why would she leave her purse? If she truly were going to Marcus's night and she was going to do some work at his house, possibly spend the night, why would she leave her purse in her car? It does not make any sense, especially if she took her phone with her.
It's been a painstaking week for Cassie Carli's family. The 37-year-old mother was last seen Sunday night in a parking lot at Navarre Beach, a small Florida town on the Gulf of Mexico. According to investigators, Carli was picking up her daughter Sailor from her ex-boyfriend. The mother then seemingly vanishes, leaving her car, purse, and belongings in the parking lot where the exchange took place.
There were things in the purse we won't comment on, but there's things in the purse that, like I said before, we don't think she would just up and leave.
Sailor was found safe. Now the FBI and 10 local detectives are investigating. Authorities say Carli's father reported her missing on Monday and that her ex-boyfriend is cooperating and isn't considered a person of interest in the case.
I can say it's an ongoing investigation, and he was the last one to see her that we're aware of. So obviously we are intent on speaking with him again.
So Ryan, who is Cassie's sister, also messaged Marcus on Tuesday morning, and Marcus seemed super bothered by the message. And again, regardless if they had a tumultuous relationship, if he truly cared about Cassie and had nothing to do with this, wouldn't he have been helping to try to find her, to help find the mother of his daughter? Why would he be seeming so irritated and upset about these text messages? And if not for him, at least for the sake of their daughter. So in these messages, he says that Sailor was with him still. And Cassie and Sailor were, again, very close. She was a great mom and would do anything for Sailor. So if she was going to pick up Sailor at the custody exchange, why would she have been so willing to then leave Sailor with Marcus again, especially in such a turbulent custody case? It just makes no sense. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense. It just does not seem likely that she would just allow Sailor to stay with Marcus so that she could then just be dropped off in the middle of the nowhere acting crazy in Destin. It makes no sense. And in fact, her best friend that says that Cassie would never have ever done that, and that the only reason Sailor was seeing Marcus was because it was court-ordered, not because Cassie was willingly just allowing him to have visitation with Sailor, but because it was court-ordered.
Ryan Carli is Cassie's sister. She joins us live. Thank you so much for being here. We're so sorry for everything you're going through. I know this is a really difficult time for you. When did you know something wasn't right?
I knew immediately Monday because we talk daily. We were at the best we'd ever been in our relationship. And Monday, when I hadn't heard from her, I knew something. And my dad called me, though, that afternoon and confirmed my gut feeling that something was not right. And he had not heard from her.
And tell us about his communication before her disappearance.
She lives with my dad. So she left out the door just to a typical exchange, go pick up Sailor. Hi, Dad. Be right back. I'm just going to go grab Sailor. And he's, okay, no worries. Drifted asleep, but woke back up 3 hours later. And there was no sign of her or Sailor home. So that's when he began to worry for the worse.
So terrifying. And she actually, I understand, always picked a public, well-lit place to exchange her daughter for pickup and drop off. But on this night, they changed locations at the last minute. Tell me about that. And then about the place where her car was found, because that was in a dark parking lot, right?
Right. Well, their normal exchange was in Destin at a Walmart parking lot, very well-lit public place. Seeing as he resided in Panama City, but he had been conveniently working in the area recently in the past month around the area of Navarre to save her that trip to drive all the way out to Destin. So she decided to meet him at Juana's, and I think that was just one of the first public locations that popped in her mind that she was comfortable with, that usually was well lit or popular with some people, but unfortunately, it was dark that night.
And police are not talking about that exchange, but they did say that her purse was in the car, and then they also said that Sailor was safe the entire time. What do we know? What can you tell us?
We know that Sailor is in Marcus's custody still, but she is not Sailor is not safe until she is home with her maternal family, where she resides normally at Dad's house with Cassie. So we are still working on bringing her home, but we are hopeful that we'll get some more answers for Cassie as well.
And so there are so many questions and pieces that just haven't been put together, right, in this whole disappearance of your sister. Police say they don't suspect foul play. What do you think?
Let's just say my sister did not walk away on her own, did not disappear on her own. She has always said, you know, based on his past actions and the issues with the custody agreement going on currently and all that, we knew when she would never leave her daughter either. So something was not right. Cassie would never just disappear like this, ever, or willingly get in the car with him to go somewhere either, unless coerced or something. So we knew immediately something was not right.
So on Wednesday, March 30th, Marcus and Sailor were then located together, and they were located in Alabama. CPS laid eyes on Sailor and said that she was safe, thank God, by the grace of God. However, there is no way to know that she would have been truly safe with someone who was still being so mysterious about the whereabouts of Cassie, about her mom. How do you know that she was truly safe in his possession when he's being so, cryptic and hiding what really happened with Cassie and not answering questions and getting angry about text messages? How do you know that she truly was safe? Physically, maybe, but who knows? So of course, everybody at this point starts digging, and people, as they were digging, found that right before Cassie went missing, Marcus posted a video of Sailor at the beach on Facebook. Now here's what's interesting. Marcus's mom, who lives in Brazil, commented about counting down the days and the hours. That's very, very interesting. That seems like a very interesting post to make right before somebody goes missing, and a very interesting comment to make on that post, especially if Cassie had no intentions of bringing Sailor to Brazil. Marcus is also subscribed to a YouTuber who teaches people how to make gun silencers. So I'm subscribed to quite a few channels, most of them true crime. The ones that I am subscribed to otherwise have nothing to do with anything that is not of interest to me. Meaning, I subscribe to true crime because I'm interested in it. I subscribe to some hair and makeup tutorial things because I'm interested in it. But to make the action to subscribe to a channel means that you're interested in it. It means that you want to follow along with it. You don't typically follow channels or subscribe to channels if they're of no interest to you. So the fact that he was subscribed to a channel where they teach you how to silence guns and make those silencers is very alarming. And another odd thing was that back in 2016, Marcus made a post trying to figure out how to get OnStar out of his truck. And if you're familiar with OnStar, it's like a tracking system, like, a GPS or a nav, or, where it tracks you. And it's also a security measure. So he wanted this out of his truck so that he couldn't be tracked. He even made a YouTube video to see if someone could help him get his GPS radio and OnStar out of his truck. Honestly, who really is against having OnStar in their car? Maybe people who have a conspiracy about Big Brother always watching them, but it seems extremely odd that he was so concerned with being tracked, because most people want that software installed, not removed. But could he have been running from something back when this was all happening in 2016, or trying to hide certain actions he was taking? Possibly. So Cassie's dad, because of everything that had gone on in the past in their relationship and the custody exchanges, the custody battle, and everything that was going on currently, her dad filed for an emergency custody of Sailor, and he filed it that day because he wanted to bring her back to her maternal family. The following day, on Thursday, March 31st, it was announced that the state and the FBI were joining the search for Cassie, and a $3,000 reward was then being offered. And this was a huge deal, guys. This is a higher level of people who are involved, the FBI. And this is great because now there's a reward fund, there's, all of these different agencies involved, and it's really a higher chance of bringing Cassie home faster and reunited with Sailor. As all of this started unraveling and all of these details started emerging, and the new order of custody was filed for Saylor, Saylor was taken into custody of Child Protective Services in Alabama, and her maternal family is and was eagerly awaiting for her to return to them. So on Saturday, April 2nd, just a few days ago, it was announced that Marcus was found in Lebanon, Tennessee. And not only was he found all the way in Tennessee, but he was arrested on multiple charges, guys. And he was booked into the jail around 11 p.m. on Friday, April 1st. And that is not an April Fool's joke.
Well, breaking tonight, an arrest has been made, and the person who saw her last now behind bars. Fox 10's Lacey Beasley has a timeline of events leading up to this arrest. Lacey.
Well, Lee, Carli was last seen at Juana's Pagoda's Grill in Navarre Sunday, meeting Marcus Spanavello during a custody exchange of their 4-year-old daughter. According to investigators, he was the last person to make contact with her. And 6 days later, he's now been arrested on charges related to her disappearance.
37-year-old Cassie Carli, described by friends and family as a devoted single mother to her 4-year-old daughter, now missing for 6 days. According to Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office, she was last seen at this restaurant in Navarre Beach, meeting the father of her child, Marcus Spanavello, during a custody exchange. And since then, she hasn't been seen or heard from. Her father reporting her missing Monday. Her car found Tuesday with purse still inside.
Usually you don't go 4 days without hearing from them or them using a credit card or a cell phone or something. And right as of now, we have none of that.
Wednesday, Spanavello was tracked down in Birmingham with their daughter. Investigators drove up to interrogate him, though Sheriff Johnson did not reveal what was said. And 3 days since that interrogation, Spanavello has today been arrested by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigators and Highway Patrol in Lebanon, Tennessee, charged with tampering with evidence, giving false information concerning a missing person, and destruction of evidence.
And these charges stemmed out of Santa Rosa County, and they included tampering with evidence, giving false information concerning a missing persons investigation, and destruction of evidence. And the tampering charge was due to him taking Cassie's phone, which means more than likely he was also the one who was sending those texts in the beginning when Cassie first went missing. And this was a huge step in bringing Cassie home, because it looked like at this point the arrest had been made, that they were getting evidence against him, and that he was either going to talk or they were going to start getting more answers. And these charges also proved that he did have something directly to do with Cassie's disappearance, having her phone and obstructing the investigation. But also, him being in Tennessee, in my opinion, just proves that he was on the run from something. Why would you go all the way from Alabama to Tennessee, and your daughter is then getting put in custody with CPS? Nothing was really adding up here. If he really had nothing to do with this, why wouldn't he have just stayed in Alabama to fight for Saylor and then gone straight back to Florida to help find Cassie, or then go to Tennessee? It's just his actions here really speak volumes. So everybody's continuing to search for Cassie, search for answers. Marcus is not giving up any information. But the search continues, and everybody's talking about it on social media, sharing it on social media. And on Sunday, April 3rd, it was announced that Cassie's body was found in Springville, Alabama. And she was identified by a foot tattoo, and she was found inside a shallow grave in a barn. And this barn happens to be owned by Marcus's former boss.
Family, friends, and the community are mourning the loss of a Florida woman who went missing a week ago tonight.
Officials say Cassie Carli was found dead recently in a shallow grave in an Alabama barn. Her ex-boyfriend, now a suspect, already in jail. We begin with 8 on your sides. Nico Clemens. Our team coverage starts in the Tampa newsroom with you, Nico. Good evening.
Hey, Melanie, Jack. Your heart breaks for Carli's family and her 4-year-old daughter. But some strong words from the sheriff today. He says just because her ex is in jail, this investigation is not over until he's in prison.
So it's not the ending that we wanted.
A week-long search for Cassie Carli ends in tragedy. Detectives say they found the mother Saturday night, identifying her by a single tattoo.
I mean, it gives them some closure that they know where she's at now, but still it's their daughter. I mean, you know, daughter and sister, and it is terrible.
The Santa Rosa County Sheriff says Carli's ex-boyfriend is connected to the property where the sheriff says detectives are still reviewing surveillance videos, piecing this investigation together.
I think we have a great case, and I think he's either going to spend the rest of his life in prison or he's going to get the needle. So hopefully the needle.
So the lead detective for the case said that Marcus has been a dirtbag, absolute dirtbag, and that he essentially doesn't expect that to ever change. He's refusing to speak, he's refusing to cooperate, he's just not helping at all. And the only word he's actually muttered to investigators is lawyer.
Through tears, Rayanne Carli sharing that the search for her big sister is now over.
They found Cassie.
It's a heartbreaking end to a weeks-long hunt for the Florida mom, whose body was found last night.
We discovered her body while executing a search warrant in Alabama. It was in a barn in a shallow grave.
Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson sharing more details, identifying Carli's ex-boyfriend, Marcus Spinavello, as their prime suspect in her disappearance and death.
Since we've been dealing with him, he's been acting like a dirtbag.
Spinavello was arrested Saturday in Tennessee and charged with tampering with evidence, giving false information concerning a missing person investigation, and destruction of evidence. Johnson says they are working to extradite him back to Florida and is expecting more charges to be filed following tomorrow's autopsy.
He never cooperated at all with us, and that goes a long way. I mean, you think about it, it's your baby's mother, and she's missing, and you're not going to cooperate with authorities. That's kind of telltale.
In the video, Rayanne thanking all the volunteers who helped look for her sister.
Thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you. She's coming home.
And giving this update on little Sailor.
And she is safe. And we will be with her soon.
Sailor is currently not in the custody of DCF, but according to Cassie's sister Rayanne, she is with a family in a loving home, and she is so safe. And I want to put that quote directly out there. But Cassie's family hopes to be reunited with Sailor shortly, because Sailor has a loving maternal family that wants her, that wants to take care of her, that loves her. She shouldn't be in foster care. She shouldn't be in the system. So in regards to Cassie and what happened, an autopsy will be underway starting April 4th. And pending the autopsy result, more charges will most likely also be headed Marcus's way. And the detective says that these charges will either be life in prison or the needle. But here's what we don't know, and here's what still has so many people talking about this case and so stumped. What could Marcus's motive have been? Was it really this dispute over child support and him possibly losing his license? Or was it more? Was it something of, if I can't have her, no one can? Or did he want to take her to Brazil? Is that what that Facebook comment was all about? Saying, was he planning to abduct Sailor and take her to Brazil? There are just so many questions. We don't know the cause of death. We don't know the motive. We don't know, any of it. And I think that makes it all the more unsettling and concerning, because usually you have a clear line in situations like this of what the custody dispute was, who acted out, why they took the child, why they killed the spouse, or the ex, or whatever it is. And here we still don't have a lot of questions, because it appeared as though, although tumultuous, Cassie was co-parenting as ordered by the court to the best of her ability, going for the custody exchanges. But was there something more to that? I think another key piece of information that we're going to learn is once we get our hands on the arrest affidavits, before we even get into discovery or anything like that once he goes to trial. But once we get our hands on the arrest affidavits, it's going to be interesting now that they have her cell phone and his, to see what their exchange was like leading up to that custody exchange. What were they texting each other back and forth? What kind of phone calls did they have? Because that will be indicative too of the state of mind that Marcus was in, the state of mind that Cassie was in, and what motive really could be there and what the underlying issue may have been. So I'm really interested to learn what information we get out of that. But I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are and what your theories are on this case, because like I said, so many people are talking about it right now. Nobody can seem to piece together the information as to why this happened, what really happened. And a lot of people are comparing it to similarly in terms of a DV situation, and not even a DV, but a dispute situation, to the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case, in the sense that although they have a child together and they're not in a relationship on a cross-country journey, that there are similarities in the sense of him being reluctant to cooperate and just, shutting down, only saying lawyer, him being involved, obviously, in her demise and death, allegedly, and them once being in a romantic relationship. So people, I think, too, there's been a lot of draw to this case because of the similarities in that regard, just especially coming off the heels of the Petito and Laundrie case. But I want to know what your theories are on this case and what your thoughts are. And why do you think this happened? What do you think Marcus's motive was? Why do you think he did this when Cassie was such a great and loving mother? Was it because he just was he mad about the child support? Was he mad about his license being suspended? Would that really lead him to murder? Or was this, again, something deeper where, if I can't have her, if you're going to keep coming after me, you can't have her either? Or could it, now that I'm thinking about it, even be something where he was worried about future child support payments and, the further financial burden and hole that would put him in? And so by removing Cassie from the situation, is he essentially removing those so that once he got through this with his license and got that taken care of, with her out of the picture, he could avoid any other things like that coming down the pike in the future? Maybe that could have been the motive. Maybe it was money that was the motive behind this, not gaining money, but saving money. I want to know what your thoughts and theories are, guys. So drop them below, because I know all of you guys have been following this case too. And I'll keep a close eye on it and let you know as soon as I get my hands on the arrest affidavit, once we hear updates in the case and once we learn more. And I will come back on and do an update with you. So again, subscribe if you haven't done so already so that you get notified of those updates as I put them out. And also, please say a prayer for Cassie's beautiful daughter, Sailor, for her entire family, and pray for, their well-being, their comfort, for Sailor to be reunited with her loving family, and of course that justice is served and that Marcus is held accountable. I'll keep you guys updated, and thanks again for tuning in with me. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up on your way out. It helps support the algorithm of the video and helps push Cassie's story out to more people. And if you want to talk more true crime and have more access to one-on-one conversations and our Discord where we talk every single case that's going on in true crime, go to Patreon and you can link everything through that. All right, guys, until the next case, stay safe. Bye.